Hello again. This is the Ring of Hearts square from the winter season blanket pattern, and I've been meaning to make a video on how to make this square for probably since I published the pattern 2 years ago, and have never quite got round to doing it. Now that I've got a much faster broadband, I'm much more inclined to be making videos, and one or two people recently have asked for help when they've got stuck on a part of this square. So I thought now's the time to show you in a video tutorial how to make the Ring of Hearts square for the winter season blanket. So this is it. It's got the centre, a round of cream round about it, and then the little red hearts, and then it gets squared off and ready to be joined to the rest of the blanket. So we're going to work through this today on the video. So I'll put this to one side for just now. And the colour I'm going to start with on here is the cream. And this is just a bit of a ball that I've got left. So I'm just going to adjust this so that I can get properly onto the camera. So I'm going to start with a slip knot onto my hook, whichever way you prefer to do it, and then I'm going to chain 4 like that, and then find the very first chain that I made and put my hook in that and pull up a slip stitch. And that creates, with that row of chains, it creates a circle now with a little space in the centre, and you're going to be working your stitches into that space all the way round. Now what we're going to do is make something that looks like the spokes of a bicycle wheel, and to start with we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that chain 4 counts as the first double treble stitch and a chain 1, and we're now going to make the first double treble stitch itself. So to make a double treble stitch, you wrap your yarn around your hook twice, you go into that little center space and pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over again, pull through 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Now this stitch is double treble in UK terms, and in the US it's known as a treble stitch, but I'll just keep talking about it as a double treble. Now once your double treble has been made, chain 1 and go ahead and make another double treble stitch and chain 1 again. And what we're going to do is work all the way around, and by the time you get back to where you started with this first chain 4, which remember counts as the first double treble, you want to have 12 spokes including this one, and then you can finish off that first round. So I'll come back when I've worked all the way round with my double treble, chain 1, and I'll see you back at the beginning. This is round 1. Now I've got my 12 spokes made. I've done my final chain 1, and I've checked that I've got the 12 spokes, and number 1 of course is that first chain stitch, chain 3 for the very first double treble stitch, and it's just time to finish this off. So just find the top of your first chain 3 and put your yarn through and make a slip stitch. And now this can be cut off. You're finished with the cream for the time being. So that is round 1. Now eventually when you come to sew in all the ends, you'll pull this centre really nice and tight and stitch it in around in one direction and back in the other, pulling all the time, and that will close up that centre hole. Now for the next part we're going to take the green and this is now round 2, and we're going to attach the new colour in any of these spaces, these chain 1 spaces. So we'll just pick one and attach the new colour. I'm just double checking if this has been turned. I don't think I turned it in this round, so yeah, just attach your green in any space, and we're going to be doing sets of 3 treble stitches in each of the chain spaces. So basically all you need to do is chain 2, which is the equivalent of your first treble, and then into the same space and make 2 more trebles. Oops. Oh, start again. Into the space, make 2 more trebles. I'm looking at the camera as I'm working this, so it's a little bit more tricky to do. So I'll make 2 of these and then I'll work round and finish off this round and come back. So there is 2 groups of 3 treble stitches, and you just need to work. This is a very easy round, just work round all the spaces with 3 trebles. So I'll see you when I get back to this point. Round 2 is finished now, and so I've got my 3 treble groups in each of the spaces from round 1, and when I've got back to the beginning, I've just finished off that round with a slip stitch into the beginning of the first chain 2. And now for round 3, we're not going to change colour, so we're just going to keep this colour on the hook, and I'm going to chain 1 and then just peel apart that where that first stitch was from the previous round, and you've got your space, and just it's very slightly to the right of this first chain 1, but just go into that space and make a double crochet. Now I'm going to show you that properly in a minute. Now we're going to be using this double crochet stitch in all the spaces around, and you'll need to bear that double crochet stitch in mind for future rounds because you're going to be coming back and working into that. So just be aware that you've got this little double crochet stitch in the spaces as you go if you make this round. Now we've done the first double crochet, and then you want to chain 3, and those 3 chains are going to carry you over ready to go into the next space. So we put a double crochet in there and chain 3, and then another double crochet in the next space. And if I hold that up to the camera, can you see these little V shapes? These are the double crochet stitches with the 3 chains in between them. And what you've done is you've created this nice big space, big 3 chain space between these double crochets. Double crochet is a very simple, one of the smallest crochet stitches. I'll do one more and explain it, and then I'll finish the round. So you don't need to yarn over before you go into your space. You just put your hook in the space, pull up a loop, so you've got 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through the 2 loops. That's all that a double crochet stitch is. Right, so I will work all the way round with round 3, and I'll see you when I'm ready to start round 4. I've finished off round 3 by doing my last 3 chains and then slip stitching into the top of the first double crochet stitch. And now for round 4, we're going to make 4 treble stitches in each of these large chain spaces. So the best thing to do is just slip stitch along so that you're actually got your yarn ready for this first space, and chain 2, and that chain 2 counts as the first treble. So all you're doing then is putting 3 more trebles into this big space, and then 4 trebles in each of the remaining large 3 chain spaces. Again, this is an easy round, so I'll just do the 4 in this one, and you can see what's happened. So we've got chain 2, 3 trebles, 4 trebles, and I'll go all the way round with the 4 trebles, and I'll see you when I'm back at this point. This is the end of round 4, and I just got to the end and slip stitched into the first chain 2 and finished off my yarn, because we're going to move on to using the red for the hearts this time. Now remember, I mentioned back in the previous round that there was a little double crochet stitch with 3 chain stitches between them. Now this little double crochet stitch I wanted you to remember, because this is the stitch we're going to start with the red yarn. So it's not out here at the top of the outside edge of round 4, it's actually back into round 3 and into this little double crochet stitch. Now at the very beginning, I'm going to go back here, there's a bit of a messy bit at the beginning, because you did do your, you attached your yarn, chained 1 and did a double crochet stitch into the same space. So when I come round to that, I'll show you what happens with, just to make sure that you get into that right space. But for the moment, I'm going to just go to one to the left of that, and I'm going to just put my hook into that double crochet stitch and pull through my red yarn to start it. And then I'm going to chain 2, and that chain 2 will be the equivalent of the very first treble stitch. There we go. And then I'm wanting to put 3 more treble stitches into that double crochet stitch from round 3. So that's 1, 2, 3, and this is the 4th. You see that? And you can see it's on both sides. And then I'm going to just simply find the next double crochet stitch and put 4 treble stitches into it. Like that. Now this doesn't look like a heart at this point, but it will, the magic will happen. So all you need to do now is work around just looking for that double crochet stitch each time and put in 4 trebles. And I'll come back to you when I'm just about to do the last one, which is the sort of funny, messy looking one, and we'll put that in and finish off the red round. I'm almost finished this round now, but I've actually done something deliberately wrong to show you where I have found a few people have mistaken the pattern, and that is when they're working into this double crochet stitch, and instead of coming right up to the top with their stitch, they've worked it back through. I'm going to pull this back and show you what I mean, because this is something that's been a fairly common error that people have made, and that's when they've made this group of treble stitches, instead of going up to the top and grabbing the yarn, they've come through just above the double crochet stitch and then grabbed the yarn and pulled it through and made their stitch. Now if I continue and finish off this group of 4 trebles, you'll see that what happens is something slightly different from the stitch that I've made. So there's a group of 4 trebles. Now on the front that looks exactly the same. On the back though, you've got, it hasn't been worked over the green. You can see I've worked over the green with my stitches, and this one has left quite a flap of the green unworked. So I'll come back and I'll do this the way it should be done, which is, take it right back to there. You go into the double crochet stitch, put your hook right up behind all the green, grab the yarn and make your stitch. And again, in, pull and make the stitch. And in, grab the yarn and pull it through. Now so I've got one more to make, and you can see that it is showing red on the back, and that's what you want to do. Now I'm back to the point where I had this funny conglomeration of the double crochet stitch and the first chain. You can miss out that first chain so that it's really just the one stitch, but there is still, because you've attached your yarn in that, or at least started your yarn in that space, it is still a little bit different from the other double crochet stitches. So what you want to do is just forget this first where you did your first chain, and just look for that double crochet stitch and put your hook in there. It's just a little bit more tricky, but not bad. And make your treble stitch. You're just working into the middle of the double crochet stitch. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then all you need to do is to slip stitch to the top of the very first chain 2 that you made, and that is your hearts round. Now it doesn't look like hearts at the moment, but believe me, with a little bit of magic, as I say, in the next rounds the hearts will appear. I'll just pull that end through to the back, and that's your hearts round. Now I will start off the next round. I'm going to just finish the video for the moment and come back ready to start the next round. So I'm ready now to start round 6, and what I want you to do is look back at round 4. The red was round 5, but round 4 was this round with the green, and we had 4 trebles working into the space, the chain 3 space from the previous round. So with 4 trebles you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, and what I want you to do is put your hook into where in between treble stitches number 2 and 3. So you've got 2 trebles on each side. Put your hook in there and grab your colour, which is back to the green again, and make your slip knot to join it, to attach it, and just get that. And we're going to put 3 trebles into the spaces in the space between the treble stitches from round 4. So chain 2, and that's your first treble, and then 2 more trebles in that same space between the stitches. So you've got 3 trebles like that, and then you're going to do something similar with the 4 trebles on round 5, the red ones, but this time instead of doing, so you're going to find that in between treble number 2 and number 3. You're going to put your hook in there and pull up, and this time you're going to make 3 half trebles. 1, so it's yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on the hook, and you do that 3 times so that you've got 3 half trebles in between the red trebles. And then we go back to this space between, there isn't actually a space, but just go in between the 2 middle treble stitches from round 4 and put in 3 3 full treble stitches. So when you're dipping down to round 4, you put in the full trebles, and then when you're working between the red ones from round 5, you make it let's see, just pull that apart, 1 2 3 4, it goes in there, you make 3 half trebles. Like that. And what's happening there is that is just pulling the top of the heart of the red groups apart slightly to give it more of a heart shape. So I'll go round and I'll see you when I get to the end of that. And as you can see now, we've got pretty much a round of hearts have appeared because of these stitches, these half trebles worked into the top of the red stitches. So I've come all the way round with this round 6 and finished off my yarn. We're finished with this green yarn now, and the next colour, I'm going back to the centre colour, which is the cream, and I'm going to turn my square, or it's still a circle, over at this point and work the next round on the reverse side. The reason I'm going to do that is that it helps to stop the whole thing from twisting out of shape, because you've got stitches worked on one side, stitches worked on the other side. It helps to balance it. Now, I have not stitched in any of my ends as yet, so I think this is a good opportunity to tidy up the back of this work. And I'm just going to show you how I close up this centre hole first of all, and then I'll go ahead and I'll tidy these ends up and I'll come back to show you the next round. But what I tend to do is I just run my yarn, I've threaded it onto a blunt ended tapestry needle, and I'm going to run it just underneath the stitches on the back. Now the yarn isn't going through to the front, it's only going through the stitches on the back, and then I'm going to give it a really hard tug, and you see how that closes up the centre hole. So I've worked all the way around with that. Now if I was to just cut that yarn at this point, it would eventually unloosen and pull out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work back the way, and I'm going to go a little bit further on from where my yarn is sticking out. I'm going to go a few stitches further on and come back a few stitches and pull that. And that's just a small stitch that's holding that closed, and then I'm going to work back the way through these stitches, again not going through to the front, just keeping it all nice and firm. And then when I get back to where I started, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go backwards and pick up a little small stitch, and I feel that that helps to stop it from loosening. And then just pull your yarn up quite tightly and cut it, and that helps to, the very end of the yarn will sink in. And as you can see, that's about as tight a hole as you, or at least a tight a centre as you could have, and it's nice and neat. So I'll go ahead and I'll finish off all these ends, and then I'll come back and show you how to make the next round. That looks better. All the ends are sewn in, apart from the very outside edge. I tend to leave that end until I've worked some more rounds and then finish it off. But I'm now ready to start with the colour that we used for the centre. In this case it's the cream, and I'm going to start it in any of those spaces between the groups of stitches. So I'll just put my hook in here and make my slip knot to attach it. I think this is maybe a roundabout way of making a slip knot, but it's just the way I've always used it. So now I've got my yarn attached and I'm going to chain 3. Now those 3 chains are the equivalent of a double treble stitch, and then we're going to make 2 more double treble stitches into that space. So yarn over twice, put your hook in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, and yarn over twice, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So that's a set of, let's call it 3 double trebles, because the first chain 3 was the equivalent of the double treble. Now we're going to the next space along, and we're going to yarn over and make 3 treble stitches. And then yarn over and into the next space along and make 3 half treble stitches. And then in the next space we're going to put 3 just small double crochet stitches. Then we're going to get bigger again, so we're going to put in 3 half trebles in the next space, and then 3 trebles in the next space. And you can see what's happening. This is being turned from a circle into a straight edge. So we've got 3 double trebles, 3 trebles, 3 half trebles, 3 double crochet, 3 half trebles, and 3 trebles. So we're on to the next corner. So we need to put in 3 double trebles, and then chain 2, which makes the absolute corner, and then 3 more double trebles in that same corner space. And that takes you round the corner and ready to start the next side of the square, because we're turning this into a square now. So it's 3 trebles, 3 half trebles, and 3 double crochet. Three half trebles, 3 trebles, and you can see that we've gone round a corner and created almost 2 sides. So my next thing to put in the next space will be the 3 double trebles, chain 2, 3 double trebles, and then work round until I get back to this point, and I'll see you back at the point where I started, because we've got half of that corner still to make. And this is me back at where I started with the first half of the first corner done. So all I need to do is to put in 3 double trebles, 2, 3 into that corner space, the first one that you made, and chain 2, and then just slip stitch into the very top of your first chain 3, And that is round 7 finished. It will tweak itself into shape when we get the next round done. And we've only got one more round to do, round 8, and we're not changing colour. So what I'm going to do now is just chain 2 and turn. And round 8 starts with a corner again, and this time it's a very easy round. There are no changes of stitch. All you're doing is a round of half treble stitch all the way round, and we're starting in a corner and we've chained 2, so that's our very first half treble. So I've got 2 to put in, 1, 2 into the corner, and then all you need to do is half treble times 3 in each of the spaces along the side. And of course half treble is yarn over, put your hook in, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Couldn't be easier. 2, 3. And when you get along to the next corner, it's 3 half trebles, chain 2, 3 half trebles. So I'll see you when I've got back and show you the finished square. And with round 8 finished, so when I got back to the very first corner, I put in 3 half trebles, chain 2 and slip stitched to the top of the first chain 2 and finished off my yarn, and this is the Ring of Hearts square ready now for the joining. I think it's a really pretty stitch and square, and it's also a really nice and big square really, so it makes the centre work up quite quickly. But hopefully that will take you through the couple of little places where it was maybe tricky to follow the pattern, and you'll be able to go on and make up all your Ring of Heart squares. And I hope you enjoy making the rest of the blanket. Bye for now.